Welcome to Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. In this show, we're not just rewatching, we're going behind the scenes, deep into the anime story, unearthing intrigue, and exploring new theories about the Attack on Titan universe. The majority of each episode is spoiler-free. Then, after a warning, we'll take a few minutes to connect the dots with storylines from future episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, but don't forget, you can join us for the live broadcast Sunday nights on Facebook and watch every episode on YouTube. Links will be in the show notes. With that, let's get into the conversation. There it is.
Welcome.
Clink the glasses, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Basement. This is episode 4.
The complete Attack on Titan.
The complete Attack on Titan podcast, where we will be reviewing every single episode. So we're your hosts. This is me. This is Eric.
I'm Peter.
I'm Daniel.
And we are going to go through a quick recap of episode 4, and then we're going to get into it. And remember, the first good chunk of this, most of this podcast will be spoiler-free. We're just going to talk about what's been going down,
Just
what
like
happened
your
in the
mom's
episode.
Corolla.
Just,
Spoiler-free.
spoiler-free, correct.
Just like a good Tupperware.
So this episode it kind of picks back up. The last episode is a little bit more just like information, character building, so on and so forth. And we get some of that here as well, but we get a pretty exciting ending. It gets dramatic fast. Again, like I've said many times, it's not a wasted frame in the show. You want to pay attention to all the details. This is another one of those episodes that kind of spills a lot of information and really sets us on the course for what's going to be the story of the rest of this season and then on into the rest of the show. So this one starts off with one of the coolest like cuts in the whole show, which is where they like do almost like a movie trailer style thing where they like cut to each of these like main like characters, all these like bad A like soldier types, and give you like a quick like
Freeze
clip about them.
frame.
Yeah,
It's
freeze frame.
Almost like a mafia movie.
Yeah. Pretty sweet little intro to kind of like some of the main characters. And these are mostly people they are all people we've already seen up to this point. And I like this because this episode feels like this is like, it really is like, this is the launching pad. Like you've got your kind of all your setup is done. Episodes 1 through 4, we get to episode 5. It's like, all right, now you know the stuff, you know the people, you know what they're like. Now let's get into like the meat of things. Although it's probably been meat the whole time. Anyway, so then we get to a quick scene. Well, it's not really quick. We get to a little chunk where they're back kind of doing basic training and doing hand-to-hand combat. Eren is sort of questioning, like, why are we doing this? Like, wouldn't it be dumb to fight a Titan like that? He and Reiner are kind of training with each other. And then they end up in a fight with Annie that Reiner starts, and Annie just like crumbles both of them and talks about, it's her technique that she learned from her father. She says like, oh, this is all pointless anyway. Kind of makes this point about, the best soldiers go to the interior. We'll cover that at length. And then let's see here. I'm going through my little recap. Okay, then they go back. They have like another little quick scene where they're like back at the barracks. There's some food, and now the fight that we thought was going to break out last episode, right?
Finally breaks
between
out.
Jean and
Just
Eren.
3 years later.
Yeah, it's like 3 years later. It finally comes to blows, and Eren sort of ends it pretty quickly. So then graduation night happens. They announce that the top 10 soldiers are going to have the option to go to the military police in the interior. We find out those top 10 soldiers are Eren, Mikasa, the gang, kind of everybody you'd expect basically at this point. And then Eren actually says, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to join the freaking scouts. So...
Because why wouldn't he?
Yeah, because why wouldn't he? He wants to kill him some freaking Titans. He gives a pretty rousing speech the night before graduation about joining the scouts and why he's deciding to do it and so on and so forth. We meet a couple new characters. We meet real briefly. We see Commander Erwin and Captain Levi kind of parading through the streets. And we basically, this is like post-grad. We see Hanes again.
Yep.
And post-graduation, everybody's kind of at work doing, they're still newbies, right? They're kind of doing grunt work up on top of the wall. They're like cleaning cannons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's this like brief moment of like hope where it's like, hey,
Joy,
things are, there's kind of a happiness.
Hope.
Like Eren smiles, they don't say a whole lot of that.
There hasn't been an incident in 5 years.
Yeah, they say, oh, there hasn't been an incident in 5 years, which should be your first clue that there's about to be another freaking incident. So yeah, they're up on the wall having a good time. Eren's like, yeah, look at us. We can do this now. And then boom, lightning strikes. Guess who's back? Colossal Titan's back.
A colossal titan has appeared.
Who's that Titan? It's the big one. It's the giant Colossal Titan is back, and he
Colossal
punches.
Titan, ruin people's lives.
Yeah, go! Power attack or quick attack.
Yep.
Anyway,
Kicks a
so-
hole in the wall again.
Punches another hole, kicks another hole in the bottom of the wall, and Eren, instead of like getting all tactical about it, goes, "We're gonna end this right now." So he jumps up to start a fight with him, and of course, that's where they end the episode. Because why would you not end an episode at the beginning of?
It's a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Just like every Titan, this show makes you hungry.
Just
Yeah.
like that. Hunger.
There's a metaphor. There's a deep. Yep.
Deep.
Well, maybe we'll
That's
explore
what
that one as
that
well.
actually means.
Okay, so I think we better hand it off to you, Pete, because he wrote down copious notes about the soldiers and their cool introduction. So hit us with what you got.
I did. I will. So, this episode is called Episode 4, The Night of the Graduation Ceremony. Humanity rises again.
Part 2.
Part 2. Yeah. So it's episode opens with Armin struggling out in the rain. They're having to do like a really hard, pack in. Armin's like, "Oh no." He's getting berated by Sadie. She's like, "Oh no, am I going to fail this?" And we see Reiner Braun run over there, and he grabs Armin's backpack, and he's
He
like,
does not want him to fail.
"I don't want you to fail." And he says,
We're getting great on
"Won't
this.
you get graded down for helping me?" And he says, "I don't care. As long as you pass, that's how you can repay
Yeah.
me."
He's like, we won't. He's like, isn't this like punishable or whatever? He's like, well, they don't find out. Like basically don't say anything.
Yeah.
Let's get this done.
And then he takes Armin's bag and he soldiers on with 2 packs like a boss, right? And Armin thinks in his head, and the very first thing that comes to him is, "I won't let somebody else bear my burden," right?
Yep.
It's classic Armin. He's going back to, he's already had people die on his
He
behalf.
has a noble heart. Like Armin wants the right thing.
I'm not going to, I have to muster up. I have to become a man. I have to get what I was lacking to become a hero, which is the courage and the strength to do the right thing. Runs up, grabs his backpack back. Let's go. I'm going to sacrifice my body. I'm going to push that extra mile.
Even though right after that, he looks like he's going to pass out.
Yeah.
He's just going to
It's
hyperventilate.
quite
the house
distraught.
out.
That's important. Yeah. So then you have Keith Sadie's, and he's doing these freeze frame spots where he's talking about the benefits and the negatives of each candidate,
It's
right?
basically an Ocean's 11 intro.
It's pretty
but for
classic,
every-
like mobster movie, like Guy Ritchie type. Whoosh, this is the hit guy. This is the whatever. So first we see Armin Arklet, built like a daffodil,
built like a daffodil.
but academically brilliant. And I've known a few people in my life that have been built like a daffodil, and God bless him.
God bless him.
Then we got Annie Lionheart, right? She's gifted with a sword, but doesn't play well with others.
Yep, clearly.
You got Bert Holt. He's really talented, but he's too mild-mannered. Like it's holding him back.
Bertolta.
He's too chill. He needs to be a little more aggressive. He needs a little Eren in him, right? Then you got Jean. He's the head of the class of the ODM gear. Okay, he's actually pretty dang good, but he's an insufferable smartass with a hair trigger temper. So it's got some good things, got some bad things.
Sometimes the translations really work out. They're quite funny.
In this case, perfecto. You got Connie. Connie's agile on the switchbacks, but he's a few sandwiches short of a picnic.
Again,
I
great
felt
translation.
personally assaulted when he's speaking about that.
I like sandwiches myself.
Yeah. Sasha is she's really good. She's really talented, but she refuses to share her like good traits with her teammates.
Yeah, she has useful insights and is a good soldier, but doesn't think, oh, I should share this information.
Yeah. Then you got Mikasa. Mikasa is the model cadet. She excels in everything. She's actually a genius. So
I love how they set her up as literally the best.
yeah, she's like, this guy, he's got this good, this bad, this guy, this good, this bad. Mikasa, she's perfect in every way. You're like, oh, okay. All right, Mikasa. Just go ahead and be better than everybody at everything forever.
She's the Messiah.
Yeah. Then you got Eren, who is the exact opposite. He's lackluster in everything.
In the classroom.
And he's marginal better in the field,
Yep.
but driven by a sense of purpose that's almost terrifying. And this definitely defines, what we were saying in the last episode. We saying that, Eren, he's got, maybe he can't do it. Maybe he doesn't have all the talent, but he's got more guts than anybody. He's got more drive than anybody. And that is definitely the sum of his character, right? So you've kind of got the main crew there, and you've got the standouts, right? You've got Mikasa, you've got Bertolt, and you got Jean, who are the best on the ODM gear, who are standing out, and then you've got some people who are straggling a little bit, but these are pretty much the top 10 characters that are the important parts.
And we also see a pretty crucial detail. They introduce us into something new here. They are, so as this scene is playing out, they're out in the woods, clearly in some training thing, and they've got these big wooden dummy Titans out there, and they all have something on the back of their neck, like a little cutout piece.
It looks like meat.
It looks like a piece of meat. It looks like a meatloaf or something like that. And
don't watch this while you're hungry. This is terrible.
No, I don't recommend any of these episodes while you're hungry. Anyway, so they are using their ODM gear to fly around, and they pull out these two swords out of those whatever, and they're slicing at the back of the neck there.
Yep.
Which clearly is a point of weakness on the Titans. I mean, I think that's fairly straightforward. Again, I think I've said this before. One of my favorite things about this show, actually, of all the intricacies, is the fact that there's at least some explanation of the different technologies and techniques going on in the show, right?
Yep. They do a pretty good job of detailing, and with those little scene breaker up things, informational packets.
Yeah, read those, by the way. Pause
muy importante,
and take advantage, even if you have to have the subs on to do that.
So we get to the scene where they're combat training.
Yeah. Right? So it goes straight from that to hand-to-hand training. And it's Eren, and Reiner's running right at him. And Eren,
with the fake knife.
Yeah, the fake knife further. And Eren, kind of diverts him and sort of, hucks him over himself somehow. And actually, Reiner's a much bigger dude, but he actually, puts him down. He's like, oh, sorry, I should have, held back there. But
yeah, and if you've ever done martial arts training, you know that, you get shown a drill, you slow-mo practice a drill, then you go faster and faster and faster. And the guys that go 100% are usually jerks, and you hate them because you're like, hey, bro, we're all trying to learn this. Don't be freaking crazy. You need to go 50% or whatever.
Stop talking about me, Pete. We're
Yeah.
on air.
And if someone's really tall and just
has
constantly
crazy
kicks you in the
about
stomach.
this later.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So here you got Eren. He's being the friggin' gym bully, and he's just like, sorry, Reiner, I just threw you to the ground with 100%. You need to chill out, And they kind of have this conversation, okay, now you try, right? And they look over, there's Annie. There's this kind of youngish blonde girl with these killer eyes, and she's just murking kids out left and right.
Yep.
And Reiner's kind of the exact dumb kid dialogue, oh, someone needs to go teach her a lesson.
I feel like that's...
You do it.
Okay, but before
Totally
this,
dated.
this is the part where Eren actually says his line. He's like, "This seems foolish. Why are we doing this? He has a knife in his hand, a wooden knife, and is like, you'd be a fool to go in with this." And then there's a quick little flashback we'll get into later.
Yes.
And he kind of comes back too and is like, yeah, why are we learning hand-to-hand combat? It's not like we're gonna be fighting people our own size.
Yeah, you're gonna be fighting Titans. Why would you need a friggin' little tiny knife to be fighting Titans with?
And Reiner comes back at him and says, he says to him, soldiers need to be ready for everything. He says that you don't get a say in what the fight is, whether or not it's going to turn ugly. You don't really know what's going to happen. A good soldier is prepared for everything. And he also says another profound line, which is, artillery isn't always the answer, right? Which we kind of already know that, right? In one of the, I think it's the second episode where we see them firing cannons
at the Titans,
at one of the Titans, and it's bouncing off of him. It's doing very little. I mean, they may not be good shots.
It bounces
either.
off of the armored Titan.
Yeah,
but it's really hard for them to aim. They're not very accurate because they're not used to shooting at moving targets because they've never shot them before. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty difficult, right?
Yeah, and Reiner's kind of like a meathead a little bit, but sometimes he drops a wisdom bomb on you.
Yeah,
and
he says you never can tell what you should be ready for, and a soldier should be ready no matter what the opportunity, no matter what the size, because enemies come in all shapes and sizes. Right.
They come in many forms. Yeah. So they have that little interchange, and then it gets into the the funny part where Reiner's like, says something about Annie. I can't think how it breaks down. He says something about Annie, and Eren is like, dude, she's just looks for opportunity, slack off. And he's like, oh, really? And so he goes and stirs, Reiner goes and stirs up the hornet's nest. and like challenges Annie, and she gets the crazy look in her eye, and
then
he's like,
bust Chuck's Eren.
"Okay, Eren, go fight her now." Anyway,
Relatable moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And then you've got, Eren, who's like, okay, I'm a tough guy. Like, I can go do some stuff, right? And Annie's like, yeah, but you haven't been training martial arts all your life like I have. And she absolutely wrecks him with a low
wrecks
kick.
him. Yep.
And Eren calls it a dirty move. Then
Reiner hands her the knife and is like, "You know how this goes. You have to do a second round, basically. Like you do hand to hand, and then you do hand to hand with the knife."
Yeah.
And then she just wrecks him again.
Yeah. And then Eren's like, I'm not going to take it easy on you. Oh, man. And then you get Eren then's like, hey, Reiner, now it's your turn to fight Annie. And Annie, looks at Reiner. Reiner's like, I'm not going to hold that. And sure enough, he ends up on his butt as well. Annie's just got the technique. At this point, Eren's really impressed. He's like, wow, who taught you that? Right? That you got some serious skill no one's ever seen before. You got this fighting stance she takes, this special fighting style she's using. Who taught you that? She says, my father taught me that. And he's like, oh, did he pioneer that? Did he invent this?
Yeah. Did your father, like, you're so good at this. Like, was your father the author of this, fighting style?
She's like, who cares? This is all dumb because the best soldiers,
the top 10,
they don't even fight. They get put in the interior where you'll never see a Titan ever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they take the absolute best, and instead of doing the best thing with them by putting them up against the Titans to fight and to like win, they go and they protect the little poor, royalty on the inside, and they get these cushy jobs so they'll never ever have to fight. And Eren's like, yeah, that is kind of backwards. And she says something really specific to him. She says, the better you are at dropping bad guys, the more distance the powers that be will put between you. They play us all like a game. Don't be a pawn.
Dang.
That's a good one.
Yeah, she's a killer, stone cold killer with her moves and with her words, and you really don't want to get the crazy eyes from Annie Lionheart.
Yeah, and she throws out another line about, she says that it's better, let's see, I'm trying to find out my list here. She says they're not honing their skill to fight, but they're honing their skills to run, which is super interesting. And so, like, this is...
I didn't know there's a lot of French soldiers in this army.
Apparently,
yeah.
Lots of white flags up in here.
Yeah.
So one of the themes that starts to emerge right here is, and we've already seen a little bit of this, there's a lot of this like life and death, a lot of kind of looking death in the eye in this show.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the way that kind of gets like expressed, one of the way they sort of explore that is a lot of characters come to this kind of like cold realization, like what is the point, right? That question gets said a lot. Like a lot of the characters will end up saying something like that pretty frequently throughout the rest of the show. What is the point? Why are we here?
Mm-hmm.
We're all just gonna die. Whatever. And Annie's...
look at episode 1. The mom, is my son's life worth something?
Mm-hmm.
Did he help you? What did he give his life for a cause?
Moses.
Yep.
Moses.
Yeah, Moses the son. So
Rip.
This kind of goes on, and Annie is this particular moment is a really good representation of that. Whatever, doesn't matter, who cares? That attitude versus what we see in specifically Armin and Eren, which is no, there's a reason to hope, there's life beyond the walls, and there's this constant tension between those two things happening in the show. Mm-hmm. And it happens in subtle ways and in big ways, but the next several episodes, a lot of that's going to play out. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that will play out.
And you see that with the fight that we're finally all longing for between Eren and Jean.
Yeah.
I really
3 years in the
glad
making.
That's one of my favorite scenes for a few different reasons. One, they have this tension that mounts, and it's around that question that Eren has. Why is it that you just want to train so hard and get so good
and never go to a
killing
fight.
Giants and never even see one?
Yeah, you run. You use your skill
to get
run.
as far away from them as possible.
Coward. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, low key.
And then there's this the moment when Mikasa comes and pulls Eren's hand down, and there's this connection between Eren and Mikasa that Jean sees and is he's instantly like grabs his shirt. He's like, "What's the matter with you?"
The pseudo romance. Oh, I'll say as little I'll say as much as I should. But the romance, I mean, I noticed it personally first time through. I was like, well, she's the love interest, right? But then like Eren's kind of always so busy being like, kill the Titans, and Mikasa's like, I gotta save your life, like.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a anime thing that the love interest is very much downplayed. Whenever
Super
there's
subtle.
a couple, it's like, well, they walk together places.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, that's as much as they show, and there's not really this. Sometimes they have people saying, oh, I care a lot about you. And then it's like, oh, quickly diverted. So
Yeah.
I think they're building this thing and everybody's like, when is it? You know,
But they don't have time for a romance, Kansas. They're in a war, bro.
It's true.
They're in the middle
It's
of a
true.
war.
Which
They can't
there's
mess
some-
around with
There's some
high
realities
school.
that they're like, hey, there's too much going on
Yeah.
to like kind of explore this. I mean, that's you look at World War II. There's plenty of stories of couples who got together after the war. I mean,
Yeah.
something happened once there was peacetime or once we were back home, things like that. And even what the heck was I going to say? Oh, what am I trying to say? The romance thing. Okay, in an American show, that wouldn't fly.
Yeah.
That'd be like
We-
the focus.
Yeah, exactly. That becomes a focus. I was just reading this thing the other day that was talking about The Office. Oh, that's what it was. The Office, the Office Ladies. It's another podcast. You should go check it out if you're a fan. But they have a podcast where they walk through all the episodes, and they walk through the pilot episode, and they talk about how The Office was originally a British show, and the director of the British version gave some advice to the writers and the directors of the American version. One of the things that they had said was, because they already knew in the script that Jim and Pam were going to have kind of this romance. They said, you need to focus in on that, like make that like a mainstay in the show, because that's one of the things that's going to capture your American audience. And it's pretty interesting because basically every anime that's actual Japanese anime is coming from this like other culture with kind of different values, different societal norms and mores and things like that. And what we're watching is the Japanese take on a kind of mid, whatever, what am I trying to say? Maybe not quite dark ages, but some kind of like way back in the day, European white society, but they can't help it, right? You're still writing from your own perspective, which is what this is what people do. And it's interesting to me. So, because here's the thing is, I still think obviously the show still works, which proves the point.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that. That isn't like a main focus in the show in any way. And that, yet there's plenty of intrigue, but it does create a different emotional dynamic. And in this case, it's what you're saying. It's subdued. It's like kind of below the surface. And so like, you notice like she grabs, Mikasa grabs Eren's hand, and it's subtle. Like you actually, like you saying that made me go, oh yeah, that is in there.
Yeah. John freaks out because he's grab my
got a little
hand,
crush.
dang it.
And it's interesting how it goes. That scene has so much because there's the Jean and the Eren, which actually represent what you were talking about, how there's people that want to get good enough to get away from the Titans and never face them. But he's saying there's a whole nother world out there and you're not willing to be brave enough to face these things. And then they have that altercation and Eren pulls out his move that he learned from Annie.
That he learned watching Annie do it to himself.
Yeah.
And he immediately learned it and he replicated it that same day.
Mm-hmm.
Genius.
And that happens and there's a pause. And then I love how they do this in a few different ways. The door opens from outside and there's the drill sergeant and it's dark outside and you see him like eyes wide open and the door is cracked this much. So you see one eye, and he's saying, I heard a ruckus. What happened in here? And there's this big pause and nobody wants to say anybody.
Yeah.
And Mikasa like, Sasha farted.
Yeah.
Translates across all cultures, my friends.
So the writing in that whole scene was amazing.
It's
the
great.
way, there was a tension, there was an altercation, there was the thing between Eren and Mikasa with this love triangle going on with Jean, and then an interruption because they couldn't resolve it.
Yep.
And a resolution with humor.
Yeah.
Right.
It was the
Kind
smallest.
of breaks the tension.
And the metaphors,
almost
they're strong because A, it shows you like, hey, haha, we're all in this time where we're all having a good time. Everyone's kind of lax. You can joke again. It's been 3 years, right? It's been 5 years since last assault, but 3 years we've been in combat training. We can joke again. We can laugh again. We can have a drink together. We can celebrate, right? Not right. And then also you have the whole bit where, Eren and John had this argument 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's come to a head now, right? And guess what? Eren immediately
Inner dialogue.
destroys John, right?
Yeah.
But he also does so with his argument, right? So his physical mirrors the argument.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he
Because
says,
has that,
you're
like,
a freaking coward.
well, he has the moment. So like right as Jean's like in his face, like has him up against the wall. They have the pause, inner dialogue moment. Again, kind of a cool device, a cool, distinctly anime storytelling device. And he looks and he sees. I love how they kind of show out of the corner of the eye. He sees like Reiner sort of looking over, and because now there's like a scene starting to unfold.
Yeah.
And it's Annie. Who else is it? I think there's 3 that they show.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But they look and he stops and he goes, "Oh wait, I've seen this before." And he flashes back to himself. I'm trying to think, see if I can find the line. I think I wrote it down. Yeah, Eren sees everyone looking at him, and he says, "I remember this. He has something to prove." And then he flashes back to himself.
Yeah.
At all the different times that already in the show.
He's been
point,
a bullheaded, strong-headed idiot.
Eren's been the one who's out with something to prove. And
Which
he
is
goes,
why they're great rivals, is because they're the same.
You're the same person.
They just only have a slightly different outlook on what they're going to do with their careers.
Yeah. And in that moment, Eren goes, he thinks he goes to technique, not just to strength, not just like, he doesn't just go to his bullish, his normal strong-headedness. He actually can take a break for a second and be like, no, like, I'm going to end this right now. I'm going to do it with technique. And with one kind of like fell swoop of the hand, he like throws him down. And then that's that, right? He says, I'm going to end this right now. And he doesn't mean like, I'm going to freaking beat the snot out of him. I'm just going to finesse the situation here for a second, end it on its face. And it's interesting. It's character growth, and we're only five episodes in.
4 episodes.
Four episodes in.
Because normally he would have blow for blow. Like the first episode, he just runs at those bullies. Right, just throws. The second episode, he throws himself at those guards.
Yeah, it's one of his flashbacks.
And he's like, no. I'm gonna learn from what I've experienced already from these other recruits. Annie and from Reiner and Bertold. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at what they've done and what they've shown me, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that. Instead of being bullheaded, I'm not going to be anybody's pawn. I'm going to take a step back.
And I think this really is these two positions put next to each other is really what this episode is about.
Yeah.
The whole time. It shows that they're training, and that's part of it. But what are they training for?
Yeah.
It shows that the top 10 of the class, right? You've got Connie, you've got Eren, you've got Sasha, you've got Bertold, you've got Reiner, you've got Annie, you've got Mikasa, you've got Armin, right? Like, they're the top 10. They all get to have the cushy life. They all get to go get 3 square meals a day.
Yep, they have the opportunity.
They get to all be safe, right? But Eren says, no, like, I'm actually going to forego a sweet life after all the work I've put in. I'm going to go kill some Titans.
Yeah, the line he drops on, I forgot I'd written this down. The line he drops on Jean when he throws him down is, "You're not a soldier, you're a joke." Like, boom roasted.
Dang, bro.
God, I like this whole scene.
I don't know if there's any Titan balm for that, but just for straight roasted.
He also says, I think right somewhere in there, he says, the time that I learned that was when you were goofing off.
Yeah, that's right. He's like, where'd you figure that? He's like, it's something I picked up this afternoon while you had your thumb up your butt.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I think that also, it juxtaposes it further, these ideas of only
self-discipline.
Kind of like, it reminds me of Office Space. I just work hard enough so I don't get fired.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between that and somebody that's actually driven.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that has a deeper reason. Eren has a deeper reason. And it seems like the internal conflict in this episode is Eren.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening in Eren saying, don't you understand? They're eating us. We're like livestock in a pen waiting to be eaten. Don't you guys care about that? You want to take all your skills and run away. Don't you know this is bigger than you?
Yeah, you're thinking of yourselves.
Which is truly what every human being wants anyways is something to fight for that's bigger than
They
them.
think they want survival, but he's wanting life and life abundantly.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
I want something more, which again, yeah, that's definitely a big picture, like vision for the show. Is I want something more. Eren wants something more. Armin wants something more because there's something outside the wall. It's like I can live with my head down. I can live afraid. I can live just in it for myself, like give me that
Survive.
cushy job, or I can live for something greater.
Yep. And it's Eren's ideals leak out into the general populace who's celebrating. They're all going to be safe. They're all going to be warm. They're all going to get their square meals a day. And Eren's saying, how can you be safe? How can you be warm? When our comrades have died out on the walls.
Mhm.
We have to go and fight for them. And that infectious speech gets into a lot of comrades. They go to the wall the next day. They're cleaning up.
Yeah. Well, they
All of a
have
sudden-
the graduation night thing. So real quick, they just to go in chronological order. So they have the joke. Okay, so altercation happens. The fart joke happens. Then they go to
Classic.
the graduation night. That's when they say explicitly that the top 10 are going to go have the opportunity to be MPs, and every other soldier has an opportunity to choose between the 3 regiments, which are the garrison, which defends the walls or whatever. Basically, they're behind the walls. The scout, which is kind of the exploring, that's sort of the front lines, and then it's MP,
MPs,
right?
military police.
And
It's 218 total graduates that
Mhm.
made it the whole way.
they also mention here. I always try and catch these like random statistics. Oh, 2 more. So the show starts in what they call year 845. This episode is taking in the year 850, or at least it begins in year 850. And actually, right at the beginning scene, it says that it's 850, and they're 2 years in to
Cadet
to
training.
cadets. And cadet training is 3 years, so that means cadet training for them actually ends at 851. So I'm always trying to keep track of that because there is some important numbers that do
Yeah.
show up.
But they're 5 years from the last assault.
But they're 5 years from the previous assault. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, they reveal that a fifth of the population,
1/5, 20%.
yeah, 20% of the population has died. So that's how drastic the incident was of the wall breaking 5 years ago. And then, so they're at the graduation night, and Eren's, basically declaring like, I'm going to join. I'm going to choose to not take my well-earned spot in the interior, guarding royalty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to join the scouts, the most dangerous. And people are like, you out of your mind. Like, this guy's just got like some kind of bloodlust or something to
Yeah,
prove.
we can't beat them. Why would you do that?
And then that's when he gives his rousing speech.
Yep.
Which, I don't know if one of you guys jumps into that, but
Humanity's future lies outside the walls. I'm going to clear the way.
yeah, he drops some fat lines on him. He basically drops what we've just been saying, that there's something more, and that, there's something they're worth fighting for, and that we're going to go do something bigger than ourselves. He's like, we're not going to curl up and die. We're not going to take it laying down.
Yeah.
We're going to get out there, and we're going to, I'm going to fight. I didn't do all he says, again, what we've been saying this whole time. I didn't do all this training to go sit on my butt somewhere. Like, I did this because I want to get into the fray, and it not just defend what we have currently. I want to advance the position. He talks about, we mentioned this a couple times in this episode. We know more now than we used to know. Like, we have tools to fight them that we didn't used to have. And yeah, I mean, he basically, rouses the troop. There's a little controversial moment there, but then he just, mic drops, walks out. And
Armin and Mikasa run after him, of course, the trios together. Armin says, great speech. And Eren says, I got it from you, man.
it's all stuff from you said.
You told me about the future behind the walls. You told
There it
me about
is.
hope beyond,
The
right?
Titan Trinity, guys.
Yep.
Coming together.
And Armin says, oh, that's cool because I'm going to join the scouts too. And Eren's like, bro, no copies, okay? That's my thing. I'm the dude. I like the party, okay? You can't just like the party too. No.
I also like to party.
Yeah, well, no, I'm the guy. Yeah. So Armin says, look, I'm through letting people just die for me. I realize, Eren's like, you're not a fighter. You need to be, in a book somewhere, right? And he's like, no, I'm through letting people die for me. I'm going to go do my part. I'm going to go fight against, the Titans. I'm going to fight for humanity. And then Mikasa's like, I'm going to go too. Even though she's like number 1 in the class, she's the best. She could be the top NP ever, right? And you're like, why are you going to go? She's like, I'm going to be wherever you go, I go.
Yeah, I was
Right?
just gonna say. So
She
this
pulls
is
a
actually,
Ruth.
yeah, should I say? So we actually have this Bible verse on our wall right here, Ruth 1:16. It says, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay." And so it's actually very touching to me when she
Mikasa
said that.
drops it,
Mikasa
yeah.
like looks at him and like again, playing into this sort of subtle romance. But even beyond romance, there's this very strong connection from childhood.
She tells him,
and
I made a
Eren.
promise
I
to
made
your
a
mother.
promise to your mother that I wouldn't
I'm
let
going
you
to
die.
protect you.
Yeah. I'm going to protect you. And where you go, I'm going to go. And that's just such a, like, that. There's a word for that. It's called faithfulness. And it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
You guys understand that?
I have something to say.
Go.
Picture, but
Hit it. This is the big picture.
You can keep going.
Next scene, we see Commander Levi and Erwin
Yeah.
coming in, right? They're kind of heroes now of the Scout Regiment, where 5 years before, Scout Regiment was led by Keith Sadie's, and he retires to Scout training, obviously, retires to training. And who else rises up? Well, apparently, in the last 5 years, Commander Erwin rose to the ranks.
And Captain Levi.
Captain Levi.
It's easy to miss if you're on your first time through watching the show. Again, there's a lot of names, a lot of characters get introduced. This is another one of those. These are two characters that we'll see a lot more of. They don't really say a whole lot other than their names, but
you can tell by the sentiment, though, they're heroes to the people.
Yep, they're walking in and they're saying, "What's the crowd?" The crowd is saying something.
Yay, the Scout Regiment's back, which is
back
such a difference from
the
way they came back 5 years.
And they're shouting
defeated.
to them like, "Did you kill? Did you get a bunch of them? Did you make any advances?" Basically, so yeah, totally different attitude.
Yeah, Scouts have come up.
Yeah, they come in on horses. It's all big and triumphant. So this is where we start to get a little bit of dialogue between some of the newly graduated, not all scouts, but newly graduated, soldiers, cadets, and recruits. And they are, they're doing the thing that shows do, where you're like, oh, the stuff you're saying that's not going to happen right now or that you're happy about, stuff you're going to be very unhappy about in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So somebody mentions, it's been 5 years without incident.
Like,
and then
it's bad sign, man.
You noted this couple.
There has to be a guy standing next to that person going, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Like, don't you understand?
Yeah,
the last time somebody said it's been 100 years, it didn't go so well.
It's like the dude in the horror movie, like, nothing ever goes wrong in this town. It's
Right
the
before
guy.
he gets a knife in the back.
Yeah, it's the guy in the level 1 RPG who's like, our town is peaceful. You can grind here forever, And then no, something terrible's gonna happen, bro. Brace it.
Not gonna happen like that. You noted the couple.
Yeah, this is so couple you don't know, you haven't seen yet shows up, and it's like they turn around and all of a sudden this couple, and they're acting, oh, you guys are cute and together. Isn't that cute that you're together? And we know you somehow, even though you haven't been.
We saw them in one previous scene. I actually noticed this during graduation. It's literally like minutes before this. Yeah. During the graduation ceremony, they show like a bunch of their recruits. I see two of them sort of like arm around each other. I was like, is that like a couple? Who are those people? And then they show up here.
Yeah. Basically, like first time I saw this, I was like, you're gonna die.
Yeah,
Like,
what a quicker way.
I don't know if you didn't catch that. It just seems pretty simple to me. The first time I saw him, I'm like, why are you showing us these people?
I believe the proper term here is Titan fodder. So
yes.
So they sort of set us up there. Then let's see. Oh yeah, Hannes shows back up for a quick second, and he says, "Your mother's death still haunts me."
Still haunts me. Out of the blue. Everyone's like, hey, everything's great. He's like, Eren, I can't believe you made it. The standards must have dropped significantly since I was in training.
They give each other a hard time.
It's they're like, yeah. Hey, man, your mother's death still haunts me to this day. I just kind of got to throw that out there.
And Eren says it haunts him too. And then in that, and then in the serious moment, he's like, I'm never going to let that happen again.
Yeah, we know a lot more now. It's different now. Hey, we're in a happy, joyful season. 5 years. We're doing great. We got new technology, new recruits, new gear. People are experts now. There's no way the same thing could ever happen again.
So then in that light mood, we then pop up onto the wall. Like I said, they're all doing their jobs. It seems like they're the fresh recruits. They're kind of doing the fresh recruit stuff. Cleaning cannons, organizing stuff, whatever, but they're literally on top of the wall, and they kind of have this cool exchange. Oh, yeah, Sasha. What a faithful, wonderful, food-loving woman she is. She's
the hero we need.
She's the actual hero of this show, by the way. She shows up and like has this giant sausage she stuffed into her coat and is like, guys, look what I had. Look what I stole from the officer's pantry.
Everyone's like, Connie's like, look, I'm going to join the scouts.
Oh, that's right.
I'm going to do it. Aaron's speech, you know, it kind of got to everybody, right?
He claims
he's got
it didn't.
a better idea. A debate happened. A physical altercation happened. Not only did he win the physical altercation, he won the debate. His idea is true. I don't want to be a coward, right? He claims it didn't. Everyone knows it does. Aaron's way is the way. I want to go join the scouts. Now everyone's talking about joining the scouts. Everyone's talking about doing the right thing.
Yep.
They're all talking about the future, humanity. Sasha's like, yeah, I stole some meat from the officers area, right?
Yeah. And they literally say, you could end up behind bars for that. That's one of the lines.
I just think this episode is really great, again, for defining character and then defining the goals, right? You've got Eren, who's like, I'm going to accomplish my goal. I'm going to kill every Titan. You've got Armin. I'm not going to let people just die for me. I'm going to do something right. You got Mikasa. I'm not going to let Eren die. I'm going to follow him. You've got Reiner. Soldier on. Do the right thing, right? You've got Annie. Don't be a pawn, right? You've got John, like, protect myself at all times, you know, get to the interior, be safe, right? You've got Connie's like, hey, maybe I will, you know, stand up and do the right thing. Then you got Sasha, you know, her goal is like to eat all the meat, you know, you got all these characters.
A noble quest.
Noble quest, right? She wants to eat. She wants to retake time. She wants to retake the property so she can have more meats to eat, which is, you got to start somewhere, right?
That's right.
And so I think this is on the wall that this happens as well. There's this random blonde dude who
Wagner.
I believe is also
Wagner.
Chops, man.
Titan fodder. I can't really
But with
remember.
chops like that, I don't know how they could do it. Like, at least make one of the ugly
his
looking
mutton.
dude.
Oh, he doesn't have
Dude,
quite mutton chops, but
Homeboy's
chops. Yeah.
got some sick
Some
sideburns. Just jealous.
Yeah, so he shows up and is like, Eren, why? There's a bunch of characters, kind of a bunch of cadets are all gathered around, like, oh, what, you're going to join the scouts? And Connie, you're going to join the scouts? And like, why wouldn't you take, it's just kind of one final thing, like, why wouldn't you take the cushy job of the MPs? And Eren says it again, like, because there's something bigger going on. There's something worth fighting for. And he's like, okay, I guess I'm convinced. And then some random girl's like, okay, guys, see you at lunchtime. And I remember watching this for the first time and going, well, that's a bad sign. I just was like...
In the midst of this episode of this series where everything goes wrong at every possible moment, they give you this tiny little piece of joy of what life could be like. Eren turns around. He looks at the city. The city's beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything's structured and ordered
Yeah,
again.
it's right after that he looks around. He looks at, these defenses have been raised up, and he says, look at us. We're fighting again. He says, look at us now, ready to stand tall.
Yep.
And
he says, humanity didn't start this war, but we're going to finish it.
Yeah. And so many good lines. This episode is a bunch of good lines like that. And yeah, it's in that moment, or well, that's kind of right after that one random girl says it's lunchtime. But I remember thinking like, yeah, if somebody's gonna get eaten real soon, it's lunchtime, but probably not for you. It's probably gonna be somebody else.
For the Titans.
So with that, Eren says the line like, yeah, we're gonna finish. We didn't start this fight. We're gonna finish it. And lightning strikes behind him. And guess who's back?
Guess who's back?
Colossal's back. Back again, and he's big and bad as ever.
Colossal Titan shows up with his face an inch away from Eren.
Yeah, and this time we see something pretty interesting where he shows up, and it's almost like the force of him showing up. There's like a steam or smoke about him that knocks all of the cadets, these fresh recruits, never seen battle. He knocks them off the wall, and then you get to see why Sasha actually got a good rap from Sadie's at the beginning of the episode. So somebody named Samuel is falling, maybe knocked unconscious or something like that. And she like intentionally jumps down. She's already caught herself, like intentionally jumps down with her freaking deal, her ODM suit, runs down the wall and shoots them in opposite directions and saves this guy in kind of a brutal way by sticking the prong of her
right through his
ODM
quad.
gear into his calf. Into his calf.
Yeah.
Better to save your life and be hurt, right?
Yeah, please.
Just let me die.
Done. Nope.
But it's such a cool little like moment that happens.
You realize, wait a second.
Wait, she's actually kind of like a badass. Like, okay,
yeah.
I'm on board.
Give her some of those meats. She's earned it.
Yeah,
she
saved
his life.
It. And so Eren, drops down and
turns on a dime.
Turns on it and goes, I'm going to end this right now. And starts shouting instructions. Like, he's not like a leader. He starts
like,
telling everyone else
this is what we trained for, boys. Get to the wall.
And he jumps on top of the wall. And, of course, they end the episode there, which So good,
Get-
so bad.
Get used to it.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is how Attack on Titan episodes end.
And just remember, if you're watching this for the first time, stuff like this would happen, and you not only would you wait a week to watch the next one at the end of the season. Why don't you just guess how they end the season in this show? Why don't you just take a guess based off of this episode? How do you think they end
and
that?
don't worry, it'll be on in a week. No.
Nope.
2 weeks? No. A month? No. A year?
A
2
year,
years?
2 years.
3
That's
years?
a long time. This season came
So
out
long.
in 2013. And then what was season 2? It was 2015. Yeah, so it was like 2 years.
It's 2 years, yeah. Sweating.
Long time in between. So any final thoughts on the
I just think
spoiler-free part
we
here?
see Eren how far he's come, man. He's not afraid anymore. He's trained to do what's right. Combat strikes. A lot of people, it's fight or flight. A lot of soldiers who go through basic training, stuff happens, they freak out, right? Some of them run, some of them hide, but some of them, very few of them, the heroes, they run towards the fight.
Run towards danger.
Explosion happens. Everyone's freaked out. It's really hot. The steam comes out, right? Eren shoots his stuff in. He says, nope, I'm not running this time. This time I'm going to do what I was made to do. I'm going to go kill a Titan. It's me or him. It's do or die. This ends now for humanity. He jumps up, comes face to face with that Colossal Titan,
Swords out.
says, it's been a long time. Leaps into the air like, what a boss scene. This is exactly how you build a hero, right?
This is what you pay for.
You
in
build the
anime.
underdog, you build the dude that, it's hard for him, someone you can relate to, and you build someone who, when time comes, you do what's right. You stand up.
I think there's something to be said about that. There's the movie Something to Paris.
Oh, 310 to Yuma is not it. It is
310 to Paris. No.
Is it something? It's a number.
Yes.
It's a train number to Paris.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
And it's a true story, and it's actually the people who were in it, the three guys that were touring Paris. They were Americans. They were on a train to Paris, and there was a terrorist on the train, and they stopped the terrorist. And in one of the scenes, one of the guys was in a classroom, and there was I don't know if it was a drill or there was some threat of a gunman, and they were all instructed to get under their desks, and that he's in the Air Force. He's like, I'm not going to sit here. And he grabs a pen and goes up against the wall right next to the door. He's like, and Bourne style holding it, like, when this guy goes through the door, I am going to stab him as much as I can with this pen. And there's this kind of survival thing that when Eren did that, like, I was like, yeah, you kill that Titan, you like murder him. There's this bloodlust that comes that's like
Vengeance.
Yeah, it's good. And I think that was the whole point of that episode. Like that juxtaposition. I think it's convincing the audience. I think there's a few things that it says about friends. One, when you said that thing about how Eren said to Armin, that speech was all your material. I feel like that so much with
Your friends make you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that I've said that it's like, well, it's from one of you guys or from, and it's also what they think that's deep, that, all those three, they all were like, there's something more over the wall. There's something more than just being living livestock. And I think that speaks to the bigger picture being, there's something more than just comfort. Like, why are you doing what you're doing with your life?
Yep.
Why are you working your job? Why are you doing that? Like, there's something better in life than just living, if that makes sense. And if you're only just living and trying to be as comfortable in your life, there's no risk. There's no great, there's no great war.
We have no great
great
war.
depression.
Yeah.
Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives.
Yeah.
Quoted from Fight Club, right? And it's so true. But it's only that way if you let it be that way. What is your reason for doing what you do?
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest if you don't have one, get one. Like find a reason. And that was I think the juxtaposition. There were people going off to be MPs or whatever, going for comfort, and then Eren is saying, no, there's something more. And the encouraging part too that you see, which is the big point, is that he has his friends around and he's super conflicted and he's battling this inner turmoil. And then all of a sudden, all the people around him start buying in.
Yep.
and he's just frustrated because he's dealing with his inner struggle, and he's just saying it. And his friends around him are bolstering him, but going, man, yeah, it's tough and nothing's going to change. And I guess the three of us are just going to go to the scout regiment. And at the end, it's like, this person's going too. And this person.
Yeah.
And this person.
He's an inspiration.
He's changing people.
Yeah. They say about William Wallace and Braveheart, uncompromising men are easy to follow.
Yeah.
You beat me to the punch. Yeah.
Someone's got motives.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's this theme that, as you're saying, that is emerging to me as we're talking about this, that, in our culture in America right now, there's, all these hot topic political phrases, but one of them is, toxic masculinity. Well, if there could be such a thing as toxic masculinity, well, can't there be such a thing then as positive or righteous masculinity, which of course there can, a true man does right good things. And the growth curve that we're seeing in Eren in this episode, the no, run to danger,
Mhm.
that's what righteous masculinity, that's what
Absolutely.
positive masculinity looks like. And the thing is again, keep kind of hitting this theme of, these kind of Japanese culture, Japanese storytelling versus American storytelling. One of the things that's missing, at least in Hollywood a lot of times these days, in American movies and American shows, is masculinity, is somebody who's willing to go do masculine things like protect the weak, sacrifice of yourself, give of yourself,
Yeah.
even when it's not easy, inspire
Stand
others,
up for what's right.
stand up for what's right, run towards danger and take risk, not caring mostly about your own life, but caring about others. And Eren is, that's the Eren agenda of this show, is pushing that
Mhm.
forward. And the beautiful part about it, as you are kind of both saying this, he's actually trying. He's not out there with this calculated oh, I can convince everybody to do X if I say Y. That's not what he's doing. He's just
convincing himself.
living. He's leading by example. Essentially,
He's
he's
genuine.
just living. He's living what he knows to be true, and he's out there doing it. And like I said, it's interesting, and part of the reason the show ends up being refreshing is because, a lot of the other entertainment that's available right now, you don't get that.
Yeah.
And it's something we're all longing for, and I just love it. That's true, like I said, true masculinity, true hero that we find in Eren, and a great reason to follow such a cool show. So
Yeah, I think like you're saying, a lot of Hollywood or a lot of American movies, it seems like are like reverse engineered. They're made to make money. They're made for the art. It's art for art's sake, which is narcissism, right?
Yeah.
It's just disgusting, right? Whereas this show was sat down, thought out 6 months in advance before any of the production went into place, before they knew how big it was going to be. The author sat down and he was like, I'm going to write a story with a purpose, with morals, with character struggle, with relatability. I'm going to write it all out in this one big arc for a purpose, to inspire people to do the hard things, to become the heroes they're supposed to be, to step up, to not just take comfort, to not just pay bills and die, but to find a greater purpose in life, because we all believe that there is one.
Yeah.
Right.
it's good. So I think that probably about does it for our spoiler-free portion, which, as a quick reminder, this is the majority of the show. We only do a few minutes on the spoilers parts. Just I don't want people feeling like, oh, I'm missing out on all the good content because I haven't watched it yet. Well, go re-listen to the podcast then, or maybe I'll have to make a playlist one day of just the spoiler parts of the show.
All the spoilers.
Thank you all for watching / listening.
Gratitude.
You know how to get a hold of us. Beyond the Basement Podcast at gmail.com. If you got questions, ideas, stuff that we missed or connections that we haven't made, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube, .com/Beyond the Basement Podcast. We hang out there, respond to the comments. Like I said, loads of memes. Hopefully, I have long dreamt of being a meme master. So Attack on Titan memes, here we go. And if you've got any, throw them our way. We'll post them. And I think that's it for this part. We'll jump into the spoilers. I'm going to give you a quick second to get your phone out of your pocket, hit the pause button, because I'm telling you, these spoilers are coming in hot. Okay,
They're coming in hot.
3, 2, 1.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
The knife.
dude, the knife, the flashback's the first one in this episode. I did not realize how many times they flash. Well, in this case,
They flash
it's
forward.
flashing back, but in terms of the episodes flashing forward
Yeah.
to the episode, which is we're only 2 episodes away from it, where we see the back story of Mikasa and Eren meeting
and why she is why she
why
is.
she
Why
is what
she's
she
always
is, and
wearing
she's
the
got-
scarf.
Always got the scarf.
Why
and
she
she's-
never wants to leave Eren.
Mhm, all that stuff. And immediately, like, Eren has a wooden knife in his hand, and they just cut to that for a second. I'm like, you would just not know that.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't know it. And the thing is, it's like, I keep saying this, I'm so glad we're rewatching it, so I get to catch those little
Mhm.
nuggets that are in there, because even once you get to the episode where they explain the backstory, I wasn't thinking of the
No.
1 second flash Eren has when he has a wooden knife in his hand and
No,
he sees like the
you'd
body
never
on the
know.
ground.
You'd never know. And also, that's just the scene so important. Here's Reiner, and he's like, "Oh, there's Annie always slacking off." Really, like, you guys both came here on a mission.
You're friends.
You're friends. You're comrades, and you're like trying to interject Eren into some weird like experiment you're doing, or is this Reiner already experiencing the split personality? Is he
Yeah.
already breaking down?
I think he is already breaking down because we're years into this. There's some of that going on, but the another big spoiler point, the shadowing that happens here. We see Reiner 1 second helping Armin.
Mm-hmm.
The next kind of real scene that they go to, Reiner's running at Eren just like
Yeah.
he's going to in a feature episode. Eren doesn't quite do the full hip toss, whatever, but he does change his momentum against Reiner and
Yeah.
like throws him down. And then in that same scenario, he does the training with Annie,
Yep.
which in his future fight back
He
again with
learns from
Reiner,
Annie, yeah.
he learns that it's the technique. Like, he can't beat Reiner because Reiner's got the
He's too
the
strong.
armor. He's got
yeah,
too
he's
strong.
like an ox.
And he realizes, okay, wait, he flashes back to this scene, and it's so much cool interweaving right there. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I'm satisfied.
It's really good too, because Reiner tells him, "Look, they're like hand-to-hand combat. Why would we even be doing this, right?" Well, much later on, we realize there's a lot going on in the interior that we don't know about,
Yeah.
and actually, person-to-person combat is a lot of the second season with Kenny, and
Kenny
with
and the
all
whole
these,
deal.
these guys.
Reiner foreshadows. He says all that stuff. All his lines about fights coming. You don't get a say in what the fight is.
Yeah.
A best soldier is well prepared. Artillery doesn't always solve it. Enemies come in many forms.
come in many forms,
Which
saying,
they do.
"I'm your enemy, bro, and I am here
This guy.
in your friendly form."
So I think he's really trying, though. I think
You think it's
he
intentional?
Yeah, I think there's two things going on. I think Reiner is split. I think he's in their world, right?
Yeah.
And he's one of them.
So
and you can
he's
tell
identifying,
you can
like
tell
an undercover cop.
he's
Mhm.
actually at his core a really good dude.
Yeah.
He's actually a good dude. He actually wants to help people.
Yeah.
This is who he would be if he was just born there.
Yeah.
But he wasn't just born there.
Mm-mm.
Gosh, man.
Because
sucks.
at the beginning of the episode, he picks up the pack, right? Armin's pack. He throws it on his back, and he's like, "Pay me back by passing." Okay, that's very, very benevolent, very caring, and it doesn't come back to him in any way except unless they join him.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they join him, And there's some things in the previous episode that.
Oh, you think
that
he's playing a long
suggest-
con there?
I think he's playing a long con.
I don't know,
But I
man.
do also think he's kind of blending his life, and I think that
we definitely see some of it
Because
later. where he's
Berthold,
like,
pretty much
never
says
does
that.
any of that crap. He keeps himself separate. That's why he
Mhm.
keeps himself sane. Same
That's
with
right.
Annie. Annie keeps himself separate. Reiner is
Yeah.
like, this is who I am. I was made to help. I'm a soldier. I was made to help my friends, to get them to do better.
Mhm.
Like, that is exactly who he is. And it just sucks so bad that he was just born in the wrong time in the wrong spot.
yeah. Another one. So Annie, she beats them both up.
Yeah.
And then this is one that I thought of when we learn about Annie's stuff later, when we learn they're all from outside the walls and so on, is Annie's response to Eren. He's like, "Oh, what the heck? Like, where did you learn this stuff? Are you so good? Like, my father taught it to me." And like, just the revelation there, I'm like, her father ain't from around here.
Yeah.
Right? It's
That's
this
why he
advanced
knows
fighting
these-
technique
yeah,
because he's
fighting.
from an advanced society somewhere out there, and who knows who her father is and why he.
But we do get a flashback later on in an episode where he's like drilling her down to be really good.
That's right. That's the episode that made me think of it. Okay, I
Mhm.
kind of forgot that even took place.
Yeah. And she
Okay.
tells him, they're all playing you. Don't be anybody's pawn, which is another
Yep.
huge part.
Mhm.
Gosh. So good.
Let's see here. Trying to look through my notes. The thing is, when we're watching, I just write everything down like together, so I kind of have to be like, "Oh, don't say that" during the not spoilers part, and then during this part, I'm like, "Oh, I have to go back and find that."
It's really interesting how this anime kind of causes you, specifically that whole thing about why are the best fighters going to the interior?
Yeah.
It immediately plants a seed of suspicion in the government.
You
A
don't trust
rightful
the
one.
interior, which
Mhm.
is, I mean, a very good natural
and a great
thought.
a great, like, again, I keep saying this, how there's so many things in the show that play into reality, and one of them being the complex sort of villains or enemies. Like, Reiner is, who is he? Is he good? Is he bad? You empathize with him, but he did the wrong thing. Very kind of complicated form of villain, of evil there. And then also this play later on with the government being corrupt. And, like, can't you kind of see it by design? Like, all the rich folks, they live in the middle, right? And they leave everyone else out for bait out there, and they get all the best soldiers. Yeah, the seeds of
Mhm.
suspicion are already
Pretty clear.
growing, like, right
Yeah.
there. What else we got for
Interesting how a
spoilers
lot
here?
of animes get political, you know?
Yeah.
Well, in this case, they're doing what I think Star Wars used to do very well, which is creating, a political situation that seems familiar. There's politics happening,
Mhm.
but the story itself is all completely fictional. But the kind of struggles of power and how individual soldiers versus the kind of grand scheme of
Yeah.
what some leader over here wants to do, just all the kind of intrigue and stuff that goes along with that. I love how they include a little bit of that, and that's, to me, that's a great sign of a great thinker, a great writer and author.
To include the realistic
Yeah,
situation.
because you're developing
scenarios.
a universe, and that's one of the many facets that kind of gets you involved in the show, where people are flying around with swords, chopping giants in the back of the neck and turning into them, which
Yeah.
is, yeah. Erwin shows up.
Commander Erwin, Captain Levi, and then you see
Levi, dude.
what's her name?
My hero.
I can't remember her name. 'Cause-
Oh, yeah.
I can say it in 2 seconds. And glasses.
Mhm.
Why are all three of us blanking on her name at the same time? What?
Hanji-san.
Hanji-san.
Yeah. Hanji-san is there with glasses, and she's alive, and she has both of her eyes.
Yep,
and she's
and it's
happy.
amazing.
Sonny?
I just don't want.
I
just don't wanna leave this
That's a
moment.
good one.
It's too good.
It's my
It's too
people.
good. Everyone's alive. Everyone's happy. Sasha has meats. Like, what else do you want in life? The couple is together.
Yeah, couple dies. Wagner, the blonde guy, dies. Everyone's Titan fodder. Everyone is Titan fodder.
The lesson here is don't get attached to any character for too long because
Yeah.
they're just going to kill everyone.
Marco. The meat.
Wash.
She mentions that meat is rare, like livestock is rare. Again, not really a spoiler so much as, man, come on, that's so thought through. Like, there was a famine and now there's less land, so they can't raise as many livestock, and meat is only again for the rich and the commanders and so on, or the officers. I guess that's really, I feel like that's it as far as actual spoiler stuff goes. This
Yeah.
episode doesn't play. It doesn't. It plays a little bit into future episodes, but like I was saying at the beginning of the show, this one is like a launch pad.
Yeah.
This episode is launch pad for sure for the rest of this season, and obviously sets us up for the rest of the show.
It does touch on the similarities again between Eren and Jean, who they play off their rivalry throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, they even substitute Jean for Eren, as bait because they're so alike and their stupid hard-headedness and their
What a great
which is it's pretty funny and good. You got the Mikasa in there, being Asian and being awesome.
dude. Gosh,
I know.
so many good characters, man. I'm just pumped for Levi. I just can't wait. I can't wait to get into the normal part where we finally meet Levi, and I can just, every time that he shows up in an episode and does something Levi-esque, and I can be like,
Mhm.
hello,
Yeah.
anime's best fighter. Like,
Yeah.
give me your, I don't know that much of anime, but give me your Goku. Okay,
Give
me your-
Levi.
give me your Naruto. Give me your, you name
One
it.
Punch
Okay,
Man. I'm
Give me-
sorry.
give me
One
one-
Punch Man. Saitama.
give me One Punch Man.
Oh,
Have you seen the look in
yeah.
Levi's eyes? Have you
Yeah.
seen him? Have you seen him with the sword though?
Have you
I
seen
don't
the look
know.
in Saitama's eyes?
Have you seen the look of
Dead
Sasha's
eyes.
eyes when someone took the meat away?
That's
Oh,
true.
Secret
actually,
OP,
yeah.
bro.
Okay,
Secret
that's
OP.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right, I think that about does it.
I wanted to say
Go
one
ahead.
more thing, just to reiterate. Like, I don't know why, if means something to somebody, but do something. Like that whole point of this episode, find something that's worth more than just comfort in living. Find a reason for living that you can give yourself to, that's bigger than yourself, and get people around you that think the same way.
Preach, brother. Good. That's why we're friends.
Amen.
So, all right, guys. Again, hit us up in the comments over on Facebook. This episode will be uploaded video, obviously, to Facebook and YouTube, the audio, Spotify, and all the various places you want to listen to podcasts. And shoot us an email. I mean, like I said, I don't think I hit too many spoilers in this episode, but maybe I missed a connection to future episode or whatever. Anyway, beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com, YouTube or Facebook.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. That's where you find us. Come hang out with us. Again, by the time this episode goes live, we should have Patreon and merch and all kinds of fun stuff. So check the show notes for that. And I think that does it for episode 4. Oh, we're going to clink glasses here. Here we go. Ting. Hey, huzzah. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching and listening. If you're enjoying the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. If you're really loving it and you want some extra cool content, you can join our Patreon page over at patreon.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Check the show notes or our social media pages for links to some really rad Attack on Titan merch. All right, guys. See you next time.